Ah, siblings. No one does it quite like them. Capable of the deepest love and die-hard hate, often in the same sentence. There isn't any denying there's no bond out there quite like it. While plenty of stories opt to show a parent-child dynamic, or a romantic love as the strongest of unions, Final Fantasy often goes that step further, featuring brothers and sisters in both the main and supporting casts. With that said, I'm Jack from EXP Required, and today we'll be sharing the love with 7 great sets of siblings in Final Fantasy. Beware of spoilers for the following games. First up, we go back in time to the second installment in the franchise, which ushered in plenty of firsts that later became recurring iconic features. Final Fantasy II's Broken World introduces a brother-sister pair torn apart by war, almost in the opening cutscene. We're of course talking about Maria and Leon, who end up on either side of the worldwide conflict. Bow-wielding Maria quickly joins up to the rebel army, the Wild Rose Rebellion, in an attempt to seek revenge and rain the arrows of justice down upon the Palomitian Empire, which Dark Knight Leon has not only enlisted in, but risen in the ranks so high that he now acts as the Emperor's right-hand man and your foe for a good chunk of the story. It's no secret that FF2's leveling system is as polarizing as you can get, but to us it almost feels like a natural extension of the story, where grim determination and a refusal to back down from overwhelming odds is in the party's best interests. That same determination must be a family trait, as Leon stops at nothing in his attempt to become more and more powerful, perhaps to stop Finn's tragedy from repeating. And Maria refuses to give up on saving her brother once the party learns the true identity of the Dark Knight. Not a perfect game by any means, but FF2's introduction of familial love winning out over Imperial oppression won us over immediately. It feels a little like The Lion Witch in the Wardrobe, with less Turkish delight, but just as many beavers. If there's any story in the franchise that centers around a sibling relationship, it's Final Fantasy XVI. When main character Clive fails to awaken as the dominant phoenix in his childhood, the mantle falls upon the shoulders of his younger brother Joshua, whom Clive swears to protect at all costs. Of course, this is to no avail. Joshua appears to die in a transformed state, and the next 13 years of Clive's life are spent wanting nothing more than to avenge him. Dark in tone from the get-go, the bonds the characters share help to keep things from getting too gloomy most of the time. From the brief look we get at their childhood, Clive and Joshua are undoubtedly close, and when they're reunited on a night where so much else has gone wrong, the first thing they do is to hold each other close, having clearly never lost their love for one another. All the time in the world apart couldn't change the Rosfields, who remain protective of each other while trying to shoulder their individual burdens alone. This leads to an intense scene later in the game where Joshua scolds Clive for doing everything himself, forgetting that he's been doing exactly the same thing. The boys' unique talents might lead them apart again, but they walk the same path, and only together are they able to save the world of Valisthea for good. As a bonus, the epilogue shows us the brothers really did bring about lasting peace, which is all we could hope for them. Ever been forced to babysit when you really didn't want to? What about after you've attacked another nation, stolen its crystal, and then been forced to return after a shipwreck? Didn't think so. Maybe you haven't, but FF4's protagonist Cecil Harvey certainly has. After being marooned close to the mage nation of Mysidia and explaining how he came to return to the village elder, Cecil is told he can atone and defeat the villain within by climbing the nearby Mount Ordeals and becoming a paladin, and going with him are twins Palom and Porom. Both incredibly young and intensely powerful, this precocious pair are often at odds with each other, as their personalities could not be more opposite. Black Mage Palom is unafraid to speak his mind and is often rude about it, while White Mage Porom seems years more mature and frequently reprimands her brother. Initially working together to spy on Cecil and make sure his intentions are pure, the twins decide to follow him further after his transformation into a paladin, won over by his resolve. While they might argue all the way up and down the mountain, in battle they come together to use the ability Twincast, raining fire or comets down on unsuspecting foes, and in the GBA and PSP versions, able to cast Twin Meteor, previously only seen in a scripted battle before the final boss. Nor is this the only time we see them cast together. Their faith in Cecil is so strong that they later turn themselves to stone in order to save the party from otherwise certain death in one of FF4's more iconic moments. Time for another set of twins. Both the rightful heirs to Figaro's throne, identical brothers Edgar and Sabin were originally supposed to rule in tandem according to the wishes of their late father, but as is so often the case with a good old succession plan, neither brother was particularly happy with the idea. A coin flip is the answer to their problem, and when it lands on heads, Edgar stays behind to assume the throne, while Sabin is free to leave and do as he pleases, taking the opportunity to keep as far away from politics as possible. Complete opposites, Edgar has grown to appreciate the sophistication of technology and machines, while Sabin has spent his years away training in the mountains and boasts great strength. These aspects of their personalities is reflected in their combat styles, with Machinist Edgar able to use a variety of tools in battle, while Monk Sabin has the second highest strength stat in the entire cast. Despite all the time spent away from one another, the brothers clearly respect each other a great deal. Returning to the castle with both men in the party sees them reminiscing together, and even later on it's revealed the coin used to decide their fates has a head on either side. Knowing his brother didn't want to be trapped on the throne, Edgar assumed the role of king instead, and Sabin admits that he's trained for so long to support his brother should he ever need it. If only royalty was this humble in real life. At this point, who hasn't been victimized in the world of FF7? Sequel game Dirge of Cerberus, set 3 years after the events of the original title, introduces us to sisters Shelke and Shalua who have been separated for a decade. We first meet Shalua in the city of Edge, and though she's clearly not dressed for the weather, she knows a lot more than we do about the goings-on in this post-Meteor 4 world. Originally appearing in the Japan-only mobile game Before Crisis, Shalua once belonged to Avalanche, hoping to use their resources to find her sister, and though her time with the organization has ended, she still considers finding Shelke her reason to live. We get to see the sisters reunite, but of course nothing's ever easy. Shelke has been emotionally stunted by deep ground experiments, leaving her to act on logic instead of emotion, putting her completely at odds with Shalua and our other companions. Both of them have been put through the ringer, and not just emotionally. Shalua has been severely injured and has had several body parts replaced with biomechanical prosthesis, while Shelke's body has stopped in time, giving her the permanent appearance of the girl she was when she was first taken by Shinra. Though they're reunited, their story ends tragically. Shalua sacrifices herself before Shelke sees the merit in reconciling, but an assist from Yuffie helps her to slowly begin reconnecting with her emotions and sees her step into the support role that Shalua leaves behind. The brotherhood between the royal retinue is undoubtedly the main appeal of Final Fantasy XV, but we think some of their best moments are shared with characters only on screen for a short period of time. There's no better example than guest character Iris, pint-sized powerhouse and younger sister of Gladiolus. The Amaterasia family has historically been protectors of the royal Palom line, and these two are no exception, both being allowed to wear black, the king's colour, and treating Noctis himself as an extension of the family. Despite being much younger than the main group, Iris is still close enough with Noctis to phone him directly, even if she does forget to call Gladio as well. Usually standing on the sidelines with a much lower HP pool than the boys, Iris is still a force to be reckoned with. In battle, she uses a technique called Eclipse, which sees her being boosted by her brother to lay the smackdown on the game's enemies, sometimes going so far as to try and rip their heads off from behind. Remind me not to get on her bad side. Maybe it's embarrassing for Gladio to have to babysit his little sister, but these two clearly think a great deal of each other. Whether they're teasing each other in the car, or talking about what they can and can't do, it's clear the two are close. We only wish we could bring her along on another road trip. Technically not the first pair of summons on this list. Our final entry are the brothers Sacred and Minotaur, a completely optional GF pair that lives inside the Tomb of the Unknown King in FF8. Though you have to visit this area towards the end of Disc 1 at the behest of General Caraway, there's a lot more inside than just a code to pick up, though only the well-prepared will find their way to victory. Clearly an homage to the Minotaur of Greek mythology, the tomb itself is a labyrinth with a confusing map that requires players to pay close attention not just to where they're going, but to where they've been. Deep within we find Sacred, and after battling with him he flees, leaving us to track him down even deeper. Our next battle sees him call his big brother for backup, but don't be fooled by his size. Like Minotaur says, you shouldn't judge a book by its cover. Once you defeat the brothers, they join your party as a single guardian force, though you summon them together. They play rock, paper, scissors to see who's going to dole out the damage before blasting off into the sky, and when junctioned, are the only GF that teaches the ability cover, likely alluding to the way they'll always be protecting each other in the name of brotherly love. There's still plenty more siblings out there to enjoy. Let us know who your favourites are and why in the comments below. Please like, subscribe and share the video around. If you'd like to hear more Final Fantasy discussion, we also have a podcast linked in the description below. Thanks for watching and see you next time.